It doesn't matter how much you've got to do if you haven't got the time to do it. If you haven't got the time, it isn't going to get done. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to share with you my system, my way of doing things and handling all the multitude of tasks and inputs that are coming at me, and how I can just bring calm and serenity to my life so I know each day what I'm going to get done. Because ultimately, that's all that matters. What needs to get done today? If it doesn't need to be done today, it's not going to happen today, because I'm limited, just like you, by the amount of hours I have. There are two parts to any productivity system. There is your calendar, which is the number one. This is the primary source of your productivity, because this is going to tell you how much time you actually have each day in order to do the things that don't involve other people, or you need to be in a specific place at a specific time. The second part is your task manager. These are all the little things that just need to be done at some point in the day. Now, there is a difference between a task and an event. An event is something that needs to happen on a specific day at a specific time. That needs to go into your calendar. So that would be largely appointments with people, meetings, it could be a dental doctor's appointment, you could be picking up your kids from school. Anything like that is going to be on your calendar. They're not tasks. They have to be done at specific times on specific days. Secondly, the task is something that you can do at any time in the day. You might not even have to do it today, but it would be nice to do today. So you may have that list on a to-do list as such. Now, we need to be able to make sure that definition is very clear between a task and event, because if you start mixing the two up, things will start to become overwhelming pretty quickly. This means that because the calendar is date and time specific, that is obviously going to be the primary source of what's going to happen for you today. The tasks, on the other hand, that's just a list of things that you need to get done at some point in the day that can be done at pretty much any time, and it's just a list that you would pick from during the day. Now, picking and choosing what you're going to do is a whole new thing, but it does give you a list and keeps you up to date on what needs to happen. Now, as you've probably discovered, there's more stuff coming in than time available to do it. It's just the nature of life. You're not actually unique there. I think everybody is facing that same dilemma. Even when you retire, it's unlikely you will ever have a completely blanked, zeroed out task list. It's still going to be stuff, is still going to be coming in. That's just life. It's never ever going to stop. But we do need a place to actually collect all that stuff, and this is the important part of collecting, getting everything into your system. Now, I've put a few things into my to-do list today to show you how I would process it and where I would put my tasks. This is going to help you because I want to try and transition you away from the unsustainable task-based productivity systems that have been all the rage over the last 15 to 20 years and move you to more sustainable time-based productivity system that actually gives you a chance of getting on top of what's really important. Okay, so let's imagine that you've just come back from a trip to Hong Kong, and as you were coming back, you noticed that your passport is about 8 months away from expiring. So this is a task that needs to be done. It doesn't need to be done today, it doesn't need to be done tomorrow. Or maybe it does if you're living in the UK, because it takes forever to get a passport from the UK. Come on, guys, get faster. But anyway, rant over. So let's imagine that I know I need to renew my passport. That's a task. I don't know when I'm going to do it, but I do need to do it. I've got 8 months in which to do it, although actually I probably have 2 because most countries require at least 6 months available on your passport. So that's going to go into my inbox. Another one that I might have is that I may have, while I was in Hong Kong, I may have been visiting a client, and the client says, I love your product. Can you do me a proposal for X amount of units and get it to me as soon as possible? Now, that's a task. It's not an event, it's a task. The event was meeting with the client. That was an appointment, 2 people involved or more. But now I've got a task from that. I need to write a proposal. So that goes into my task manager. And then perhaps there's something I noticed, I thought, hang on a minute, Jim has not sent me the file that he promised me. I need to chase this up. So this is a follow-up task. So this is going to go into it. Now, there is a dependent on how important this particular file you're waiting for is, but obviously that's going to go into your system. So we've now got 3 things in my inbox. Now, obviously we're likely to have a lot more than that. Most of us do have a lot more than that in our inbox. But because of the time factor involved in this video, I'm going to take these 3 common types of tasks and show you how the time sector system absorbs it and then shows you what you need to do on specific days. So let's get these 3 things in. We've got a passport, we've got a proposal, and we've got a follow-up. So what do we do? Okay, the passport really is something that you probably don't need to do right now. You've made the decision when you look at it, renew passport. What is it? This is the first question you need to ask yourself. What is it? It's basically I need to renew my passport. Fairly straightforward. What do I need to do? Well, I need to go online to the government website, the passport website. I need to fill out the application. I need to get photos perhaps. So hang on a minute. That means I need to get some research done. Do I need to get photos done? What do I need? Do I need my birth certificate? And so on and so forth. So perhaps the first task here is to research what I need to do my passport. But I don't need to do it right now. I'm thinking I need to start this process next month. So this is all I'm going to do. I don't need to date this task. I don't need to do anything else with this task. All I need to do now is to move it into my next month folder. Job done. Task is now out of my inbox. It's been processed. I know I'm going to see it. Okay, the proposal for your client in Hong Kong. Now this probably is going to be quite urgent. It also may require quite a bit of time. Now if you're writing a proposal for a prospect, this is not going to be a project. This is just part of your work. You write proposals frequently. It's not a project. If you treated all proposals as a project, you're going to be overwhelmed very quickly. So what needs to happen next? Well, I need to speak perhaps with my boss to get some price or discount figures, and then I need to put together the process. So the task is speak to boss about Hong Kong client proposal. So I'm going to change the task. I'm going to give it a verb, and it needs to be done this week. So with it being need to be done this week, I need to add a date on it. So imagine that today is Wednesday, so I'm going to speak to my boss tomorrow because it's Wednesday night, let's just say. So I'm going to speak to my boss tomorrow morning. So that's going to be dated for tomorrow, and in my case, because I use Todoist, I would flag this as perhaps a red flag because I know it's very important. Nothing else can happen until I speak to my boss, because that will then give me the guidance on what needs to happen next in order to put together this proposal. And finally, chase up Jim about the document he's supposed to be sending me. Well, let's say it's already Wednesday. I'm thinking, oh God, I haven't got time for this. The proposal is now going to be the #1 priority. I'll send him a quick email now. So I will just jump on email and say, hey Jim, have you got that document? Now, here's the thing. I'm waiting for a document. That's the real task. It's not actually following up Jim. That's just the action step I need to take. The task itself is to receive the document. So all I'm going to do now is reschedule that for next week. Now, given that it's Wednesday that I'm doing this particular task, I am going to add a date to this, but I'm going to throw it into my next week folder. So for me, I'm going to add it Monday. I want to see this on Monday. If I haven't got the document on Monday, I'm going to have to bring out the bigger weapons in order to get Jim to send me that document. And there you go. That's really all it takes to process 3 different types of tasks. Now you could have multiple ones of those, but probably they're all going to be quite similar. Now, when you think about what your core work is, let's imagine that in this case, I'm a salesperson. My core work is to sell. Hong Kong client is offering me a very, very big contract. That proposal is going to be #1 priority. But I know I can relax now that there's nothing else I can do until I speak to the boss. So I'm going to speak to the boss first thing tomorrow morning, or as soon as I can, as soon as he or she is available, and then I can get on with the proposal. Following up Jim, hey, I don't need to worry about that now. I've got bigger fish to fry, as we say in England. I've got bigger fish to fry. So I'm going to say that's going to be done next week. I don't need that document this week anyway, so I'm going to chase Jim up on Monday. So all of this is now safely placed into my system. Now, the beauty of the time sector system is the next week, this month, next month, and long term and on hold, those are just folders you don't even need to worry about. You've made the decision that you don't need to look at them this week. So let's just get them off the table, they're put away. You are going to do, aren't you, a weekly planning session on the weekend or on Friday. So you are going to see all the things that are pushed off until next week, this month, next month. They're all pushed off. You would look at those folders when you do the weekly planning session and bring forward anything that you think I need to focus on these. Now, this is the reason why I do this, because the world changes so fast these days. What might be important today, what I think might be important next week, has completely disappeared. It's just gone. So I don't want to be having to see all that in my this week folder. I would never want to automate this either. I know a lot of people think, I can be clever here and use labels or tags for this week, this month, next month. You could, but you will get overwhelmed, because now you've basically got two different categorizations. You've got all the folders, which is the problem with most people's task management system. And you've also got labels that tell you, well, you've got to do this week, and then maybe that needs to be done next week, perhaps this week. It becomes confusing. When you're processing your inbox, the question is, what is it? What do I have to do? When am I going to do it? If it needs to be done this week, you add a date and you decide when you're going to do it. If it doesn't need to be done this week, but you know it needs to be done pretty soon, probably next week, you'll put it into your next week folder. If you're not sure, but you know it's coming this month. And if you know for sure, like the passport, I don't need to do anything with it this month, I made that decision, it's into next month. This means that as long as you do a weekly planning session, nothing falls through the cracks. You don't have to go through a ton of project notes and project details, because when you work on the project, you will see what needs to be done. You can add that into your task manager if you wish. Although if you've watched last week's video, you will see how I manage my projects. And there you go. The time sector system takes away a lot of that task-based, unsustainable task-based processing, because hundreds and hundreds of tasks you can't do in a given day. You've got to get very, very clear about what you must or should do today and get them on your list. Now, there's a lot more to the time sector system than what I've just explained here. But what I wanted to do is give you an overview of what the whole process is, so that you can see if you can adopt it in your own system. Now, if you want to learn more and to go deeper with the time sector system, I do have an online course. It has helped thousands of people to really get to grips with everything that's coming at them and give them a real sense of control and organization. You don't have to take the course. I've done many, many videos on YouTube that you can have a look through. You might be able to pick up the whole process there yourself. But as I say, if you want to go into that next step, which is managing the projects, then this video up here is definitely the one I would suggest you watch next.